That's right.
So Julie has the unenviable task of sorting out. There's been a lot of activity on the chat, which is amazing. Many of the questions have been answered by the speakers. Are you able, Julie, to pull out some of the questions that haven't been answered yet?
Yeah, so I've been looking through, and I think the recipients of questions have been very efficient, and all the questions I think have been answered. So I've gone through, and I was thinking, because Fiona Loud asked a couple of questions earlier on, but Fiona, I believe your questions were answered as well.
Yeah, so that was an interesting point about
during
access
the
to dental
session.
services, because we know that that's a big issue now in the UK. Very few people having access to NHS dentists, and there seems to be quite a lot of variability in practice about whether a dental assessment is needed or not. So is there anything else you'd like to say about that, Fiona?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. So the reason I mention it is because we at Kidney Care UK, we give grants, and we've been approached occasionally for grants to access private dentistry, which isn't really part of what we would be able to do. But I just picked it up as a barrier to accessing transplantation, because we know that there's this national crisis anyway with dentists, and for many people are referred to getting that dentistry assessment first. So that's how we picked it up as a request coming through, hence the question, because everything you hear about cardiology, I just wondered if that was also being heard, and whether it's being heard, perhaps it's not coming through so it maybe isn't a thing, or it's just something that perhaps we're not fully aware of yet.
Yeah, I think there's probably lots of variation. That's something that we could send out to the group to get more information, because I think it may take a little bit too long to get a show of hands or anything today about dentistry. Somebody's got their hand up. I'm not sure who that is.
That definitely it's Kerry. Rosie.
Oh, hi, Kerry.
That issue definitely came up at certainly one of the transplant first meeting, and it was real difference in practice. So there's some transplant units where the region said this is a delay because every patient has to have a dental screen, and then other units where, I mean, I've never had anyone denied transplant listing because of dentistry in my transplant unit. So I think there is a lot of variability, and if the units are holding it up, I mean, obviously, if somebody definitely needs a procedure, fine. But in terms of, if you like, a more of a screen process, that shouldn't really be holding people up from getting on the list.
Yeah. Can I just comment on that? I think that's really important, because it's if some trusts just always insist on dentistry for everybody, maybe that's causing a problem because not everybody will need dentistry. So maybe that's something that could be looked at in terms of QI, Rosie.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to make it easier for people to get transplants, not more difficult. And it's about advising if patients really have a need, isn't it? If it really is a barrier for them personally, but not as across the board. So I think that's certainly something that we can take further, and by forming a group of interested parties, kind of do little surveys to get more information and try and standardize practice to what actually is beneficial for patients. Okay, so perhaps there is a lot of activity in the chat. Please do look at that, and you may find the answers to some of your questions that might be in their mind. Perhaps can you just mute if you're not muted? So Julie, do you have the results of the Menti questionnaire?
I do.
Just to share with people. Thank you.
Now. Yeah. Is that showing?
It's just black. Oh, there we go. I can see the agenda. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So this was around what were interventions which were successful in the units, and we've got, thank you, 11 of you for responding, and we can share this Menti code afterwards when we send out the post event communication, and it would be brilliant to hear any more that anybody might have, and just kind of, some people need to have a think about it, don't they, before they respond to these kinds of things. So I'm not sure if you want me to read them or just give them there for you all to read.
Just go on to the next one, Julie. I think we can share this afterwards, can't we?
Let's do what pre-emotive listing is.
Maybe a slight slip through the hand. So yeah, ongoing challenges, and I mean this is staff it was always going to be, if we made a word cloud, I'm sure that would have been a great big word, staff. So those
Yeah.
are the barriers, and then just a couple of other questions that we asked you, which was around the recipient pathway. With 5 hours, most of the posts said that it was the recipient pathway and also living donor pathway. So that, you know, that they're both being worked upon. And thank you, 5 of you, 5 out of 5 have said that you would be interested in joining the quality improvement group. So thank you for
Okay.
that.
So I think what we need is some more responses if people don't mind. So perhaps if we can send the code out afterwards, Julie, because there's been
Definitely.
about 60 to 80 people on this call. It would just be good to have a little bit more uptake there. I don't know if there's technology holding you back or other things. Shiv, you've got your hand up there.
I was just going to say I like the idea. I didn't meant to ask the question, but yeah, we're waiting for the questions. We're waiting for the documents to send across to us.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much. Okay, so I'm just gonna, we're almost ready to wrap up here. I'll just share this slide again. So I said at the beginning, if we asked patients to redesign the pre-transplant pathway, what approach would they take? That's something for you to sort of think about when you go away today. And then finally, to think, out of all the things that you've heard about today, what will you do differently after today? And we will be sending you some evaluation, very short evaluation questionnaire in a minute, but try and see these problems through new lenses with fresh eyes. And then finally, in terms of next steps, what I'm hoping is that coming out of this group will form a transplant first multidisciplinary QI group of interested people. It can be people who've attended today or maybe people who would have liked to but couldn't. So please do add your email address into the chat if you'd like to be involved, and Julie will collate all those and contact people later. And the purpose of this is really to have ongoing sharing of learning and ideas. And I think this may work as 2 webinars per year, so similar to today. So we would have some guest speakers, both from QI and research that's relevant to Transplant First. Updates from the QI team similar to today. We'd hope to have involvement from specialty trainees and definitely members of our MDT workforce as well. And perhaps we combine all that with a short teaching session to boost creativity and ideas generation on use of very short QI tools that we can use to do that. Hopefully set a provisional date of Tuesday, the 14th of May. That doesn't seem to clash with any other big events that we're aware of. So we can send out enthusiasm for that date and see what comes back. And then we will summarise today's webinar into report for circulation via UKKA Comms, CD's network and renal networks. And hopefully we can pull out some themes that we can pull into a publication. So if that's something that you'd like to be involved with, please do contact Julie or put your email address into the chat and say you're interested in helping with that report and publication. These things are always easier to do as a team, and it'd be great to have lots of people involved in that. So finally, just to say thank you so much for attending and taking part. Please do complete this evaluation on this QR code, because that helps us to know whether we're hitting the mark with these webinars, what we can do differently, and also what your main take-home messages are that you're going to do differently from attending this webinar. Thanks so much, and safe journey home.
So the link to the form is also in the chat if you're unable to pick it up using the QR code. Thank you.
And miraculously, we have actually finished on time.
Fantastic. Well done. Thank you.
Hello. मैं यार एक QI transplant QI के meeting कर रहा था.
Thank you.
वो रोज डन है national meeting.
Good to see quite a lot of exchanging of contacts in the chat there. Hopefully some useful relationships built up there for the future.